Hello, I'm Billy Stewart, Assistant Pastor here at Solid Rock Tabernacle, 1325 Rudy Road in Alma, Arkansas. Thank you for joining us for the broadcast. I'd like to extend this personal invitation for you to come join us in one of our spirit-filled services. Our Sunday school begins at 9 a.m., our Sunday morning worship is at 10 a.m., and our Sunday evening worship is at 6 p.m. We also have an exciting Wednesday evening Bible study that begins at 7 p.m. Come join us, won't you? 1325 Rudy Road in Alma, Arkansas. Hey, we'll save a seat for you. And now, let's join our service already in progress.
All right. And Riley, they've got stuff for SWAT for the kids back there if you want to go to that too. Okay? All right. Where did we leave off last week?
I guess I'll have to go. Nobody's going.
Huh?
Guess I'll
No.
have to go. Nobody's going.
Where did we leave off last week?
Don't ask me. I went here myself for a second.
Nobody knows? Yeah, we were on chapter 26. What was the last thing that happened? Remember, they pretty much ran Isaac off, took his wells, and then he dug new wells. Okay, yeah. All right. Yeller, it's the hot weather has got everybody running sluggish today, right? The air conditioner.
Ruined them there, and then they did a bunch more where they were at. Or where
Yeah.
they ended up at.
They dug a bunch more wells where they ended up at.
Named them, yeah.
Renamed them the same names that Abraham had named them. Yeah. 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 Okay. Now we're down to verse number 26. Then Abimelech went to him from Gerar, and Ahuzath, one of his friends, and Phicol, the chief captain of his army. And Isaac said unto them, Wherefore come ye to me, seeing ye hate me, and have sent me away from you? And they said, We saw certainly that the Lord was with thee, and we said, Let there be now an oath betwixt us, even betwixt us and thee, and let us make a covenant with thee, that thou wilt do us no harm, as we have not touched thee, and as we have done unto thee nothing but good, and have sent thee away in peace. Thou art now the blessed of the Lord. And he made them a feast, and they did eat and drink, and they rose up betimes in the morning, and sware one to another, and Isaac sent them away, and they departed from him in peace. Now, Isaac's question was logical to them, was it not? Hey, why are you coming to me for? You ran me out of here. Why are you coming to me now? He was pushed out of Gerar by the contention of the herdsmen of Gerar. He had every reason to believe that he wasn't welcome there. Anybody ever get the feeling you're not welcome somewhere?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So he went towards Beersheba. And Abimelech gave a surprising response. He and the others could see the covenant that God had with Isaac. They saw how he was blessed. They saw the covenant that God had with him. They could see that God had blessed him, and Abimelech came to ask for peace and a blessing from Isaac. Now think about that. They just ran him off. They didn't want him around. Now he's coming back and saying, hey, it seems like you got a pretty strong ally with God there. Let's make some peace, okay? So we don't have to fight with each other. And we can see the tremendous practical wisdom from Isaac's actions. He didn't respond evil with more evil. Now, he could have. Remember, Abraham had a pretty good sized army. He probably did too. He could have responded evil for evil, but he sought God's provision along the patterns of the ancient way. And after they had a feast, they all got together, they had some pretty good food. Abimelech left from Isaac, and he departed him in peace. There was a peace agreement. It was one of the first Middle East peace accords that they had. So they were all peaceful with one another. Verses 32 to 33. And it came to pass the same day that Isaac's servants came and told him concerning the well which they had digged, and said unto him, We have found water. And he called it Sheba. Therefore the name of the city is Beersheba unto this day.
I thought that was Beersheba.
Beersheba is how we pronounced it.
Oh, okay.
Actual Hebrew pronunciation is Beersheba.
No, that's fine. I mean, that's how that other word was.
Yeah. God brought a lot of blessings to Isaac all at once. He brought peace. They found water. Everything was going good. So Isaac enjoyed a rather rich season of blessings right then. Now, Abraham was a man of many altars. We see how Abraham made many altars all around. Jacob, we'll find out, is going to be a man of many tents. Isaac was a man of many wells. Okay. And he knew of God's constant provision for him. Okay. How did he know of God's constant provision for him?
He had faith that God would take care of him.
He had faith. What else? Not just faith. What else was it that he had? Trust? Yeah. Okay. But how else did he know that God's provision was with him? From Isaac. How did Isaac know that God's provision was with him? Yeah. He experienced it. Yeah. Yeah. Come and do me. Yeah. Yeah. He knew that God could and God would provide in a lot of different ways. Not just one way, but a lot of different ways. God was going to provide for him and help take care of him. Verses 34 and 35. And Esau was 40 years old when he took to wife Judith, the daughter of Beri the Hittite, and Bashemath, the daughter of Elon the Hittite, which were a grieve of mine unto Isaac and to Rebekah. Huh? Had two wives. Esau had two wives. What it says. Yeah.
So I guess what we think of the, whatever they are. Well, you know,
Whatever they are.
preacher knows what I'm talking
Mm-hmm.
about.
Now,
The Mennonite,
one of them girls, I can't remember, was the daughter. That's aggravating, but I don't remember. Anyway, one of those was the daughter of a real important man. It's sad. I just can't remember.
I did it all
Yeah.
the time.
I've got some hills you can take.
Well, now what did Esau do here when he did that?
Went against God,
Yeah.
went against his family.
Okay? Esau went against the pattern that was established by Abraham. Abraham's pattern was that none of his descendants were going to take a wife from among the women of Canaan. He sent them back to his ancestral home in order to get a wife. Now Esau does this, and this shows Esau's character as a fornicator and a profane person. Right? That brings us to the end of chapter 26 and into chapter 27.
It's just strange that all of that stuff was back then. We look at it today thinking, how could this be?
Yeah.
I know, that's what I.
And here it is.
It's so
Mhm.
simple
In
nowadays.
black and
I
white.
mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yes.
Was Esau one of Isaac's sons?
Yes.
And was he the older or the younger brother?
He was the older brother. He was the one that was born first
Yeah, and he gave him.
and gave up his birthright. Yeah. All right. Chapter 27, verses 1 to 4. And it came to pass that when Isaac was old and his eyes were dim, so that he could not see, he called Esau the eldest son, and said unto him, My son. And he said unto him, Behold, here am I. And he said, Behold, now I am old. I know not the day of my death. Now therefore take, I pray thee, thy weapons, thy quiver, and thy bow, and go out to the field, and take me some venison, and make me savory meat such as I love, and bring it to me, that I may eat, that my soul may bless thee before I die. Now Isaac believed that his time was very close to die. And this was kind of his way of what we would call settling his affairs, getting his will in order, getting all those things. Okay? Kind of like a last will and testament. And his old age was evident in what we can see here, in that it says his eyesight was weakened. He was going blind. Now, if that's the truth, then I must be very, very old, because I'm going blind. Now, Isaac was old, but he probably was not as near to death as what he thought. You know, Martin Luther calculated that at Isaac's age about this time was about 137 years old. But we know Isaac lived to be 180. So he still had 43 more years to go before he died. But at 137 years old, he probably felt pretty close to death. Eh?
Now, the 180 years, is that our 180 years?
For the most part, their years were lunar years, but the only difference is the lunar year is only 360 days, where a solar year is 365. So, basically, yes, it was about that.
So it's only 5 year difference.
You know, yeah.
Yeah, but for them to live that long.
Yeah, but back then it was
Here-
different.
here
I mean,
we're
they
at.
didn't have all that junk they have now, killing people off.
Eh,
I know, right? Shoot, nowadays you're lucky if you went to live to 70, 80 years old.
Well, that's all this trash we put in.
yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Now, Isaac asked Esau for food, but he didn't want just any food. What did he want? He wanted venison. He wanted Esau to go out. Esau, the big bad hunter, I want you to go out and get some venison for me. Yeah. Because Esau is Isaac's favorite. Remember, Jacob is Rebekah's favorite. Esau is Isaac's favorite. And he's going, man, go out and get some of that venison for me. Because, you know, if you remember, Esau was the rough and tough, the big, the hairy guy. He was the macho man. Jacob was more of the mama's boy. All right? That's kind of best way to put it. But he wanted he wanted the venison that Esau could get him. But we're going to see later that he really couldn't tell the difference between what Esau hunted in the field and what Rebekah prepared for him from his own flock. He really couldn't tell the difference between the two of them. Okay? But it wasn't the food that attracted him. It was the thought of Esau as that mighty warrior, the manly man. Okay? And strangely, Isaac insisted on giving the blessing to Esau. Now remember,
God wanted to give it to Jacob.
God wanted to give it to Jacob. Esau has already sold his birthright to Jacob. He already despised his birthright before. God had already chosen Jacob before they were even born that he was going to be the one that led everything. Right? But Isaac insisted on giving the blessing to Esau, the one that God did not choose. Said the one who despised his birthright, the one who married 2 pagan wives. So during that time when that's going on, it seems that Isaac rejected godly thinking. And he thought about only food and man-centered ideas of might. Remember, Jacob's not this big, rough, and tough hunter. That's what Esau is. And to Isaac, Jacob didn't have the might of Esau because Esau was so much stronger. He was able to do these things. And Isaac thought only of the food and what we look at as mighty, not what God looks at as mighty. And Isaac was determined to pass on the blessing to Esau, despite what the Lord had said and what the boys had shown in their lives. Now, the very fact that Isaac tried to dispense this blessing secretly, which is what he was doing, he was going behind everybody's back, and since he tried to do it secretly, it showed he knew that what he wanted to do was wrong. He knew it wasn't right. But sadly, in this house, nobody trusted anybody else. Have you heard families like that? Nobody trusts anybody. No, you got to constantly be looking over your shoulder what everybody else is doing to make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to. All right, verses 5 to 10. And Rebekah heard when Isaac spake to Esau his son. And Esau went to the field to hunt for venison and to bring it. And Rebekah spake unto her son, Jacob, her son, saying, Behold, I heard thy father speak unto Esau, thy brother, saying, Bring me venison, and make me savory meat, that I may eat, and bless thee before the Lord before my death. Now, therefore, my son, Rebekah's starting to scheme here. Now, therefore, my son, obey my voice according to that which I command thee. Go now to the flock, and fetch me from thence 2 good kids of the goats, and I will make them savory meat for thy father, such as he loveth. And thou shalt bring it to thy father, that he may eat, and that he may bless thee before his death. Now, this account doesn't specifically say that Rebekah was spying on them. Hey. Okay, well, she had her ear against the door. And she wasn't spying, at least not spying on them in an inappropriate way. But the feeling here is that this was scheming and spying going on, that she was conniving. Okay? But it could very, very possibly have been that she just casually overheard the conversation. We've all overheard things that, as we were just walking by, we've overheard things that weren't meant for us to hear, but we overhear them. And it wasn't that we were, you know. Now, once we start hearing it, we might go. But that may not have been the intention from the very beginning. Although we do get the feeling that it probably was, but it may not have been. We're going to give her the benefit of a doubt. Right? But when Esau went to the field to hunt, Rebekah put a plan together. Here we go. Here's what we're going to do. What she was doing, instead of trusting God to fulfill what he had promised, Rebekah used manipulative scheming to accomplish what she saw as God's plan and what actually was God's plan. And it was likely her preference. Not likely, it was her preference. Okay? And Rebekah knew her husband well enough to know he couldn't tell the difference between what she prepared and what Esau might bring home from the hunting. She knew that she was able to cook this well enough to know that, she'd been married to the man for a long time. She knew what she was able to get away with on this. All right. Verses 11 through 17. And Jacob said to Rebekah his mother, Behold, Esau my brother is a hairy man, and I am a smooth man. My father peradventure will feel me, and I shall seem to him as a deceiver, and I shall bring a curse upon me, and not a blessing. And his mother said unto him, Upon me be thy curse, my son. Only obey my voice, and go fetch me them. And he went, and he fetched, and brought them to his mother. And his mother made savory meat, such as his father loved. And Rebekah took goodly raiment from her eldest son Esau, which were with her in the house, and put them on Jacob, her younger son. And she put the skins of the kids of the goats upon his hands, and upon the smooth of his neck. And she gave the savory meat and the bread which she had prepared into the hands of her son Jacob. Now Jacob's being true to his name here. Remember what his name is? What does his name mean? Huh? Trickster, yeah, scoundrel. That's what his name means. Okay? So he's being true to his name here. Okay? He was happy to go along with this plan. His only concern was what?
That his father would know it wasn't him, and he'd
Yeah.
get a curse instead of a blessing.
His only concern was, is this going to work? Is this going to succeed? Right? Yeah. When we're willing to abandon the question of right and wrong, and when our only concern is what works, we agree with the modern idea of pragmatism. And that's what a lot of the church does today. A lot of the church just tries to be pragmatic. Let's do what works. Pastor, our congregation just isn't growing good. But I know a guy, he's willing to donate a car, and we can have a car giveaway if we bring people and tell them that they can come in. If they come into the church and register, they have a chance to win the car. Okay? Is that the right thing to do? No.
We don't need to
But a lot of people, but a lot of churches will say, yeah, let's do that. Because that will get us people into the church. Okay?
I'm falling apart.
Pastor, we need to. I know this praise and worship band that would love to come here, and we could pay them every week to come here and be our praise and worship band, and we can put up these lights, and we can do all these other things, and we can draw all these kids in, and it'll be great. Okay?
Over our dead body.
But is that the right thing to do? No.
We want them to feel it, that they want to come, not just because, now we mention it and we, you know,
It may be pragmatic to do something like that in order to build a congregation.
we welcome them.
Yeah. It may be pragmatic to do those things, but it's not the wise thing to do.
No, because they're not be expecting something extracurricular all the time.
You know,
And they're supposed
what
to be, coming to learn about God, not to have fun.
what I've always said, and y'all have heard me say this many times before. What you win people with is what you win people to.
That's true, very true.
If you win them with fancy lights and concerts and all that stuff, that's what you've won them to. It's fancy lights and concerts and all this other stuff. If you win them with the Word of God, then you've won them to the Word of God.
My grandpa used to tell us all the time we went to church, he goes, now remember, you're going to see, not to be seen.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's why I say, like with meals, like when we have stuff here, a lot of more people come. That's why I think.
Okay, but that's different to me. When you're doing like a outreach thing.
And do those while they're here too. I mean, that's what I.
Well, you're always going to get on eating meetings. You're always going to get more people come,
Right.
and that's okay. If we can get them in, and because usually with every one of the meetings that we have, it's church first. You gotta.
Oh yeah.
You gotta listen to. So hopefully we can win them with the Word of God before the other stuff.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. I mean, that's what I'm thinking.
Hey,
But that's what we do already. Yes, we do. We sit there and have an outreach, and we preach, and we have food, and we do it every other Monday.
every other Monday, which is this coming Monday,
Well,
wouldn't
yeah, that's true. I guess I was thinking here.
it? Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. You are correct. We do
Hey.
it right at it. Hey,
Don't mess with me, twin.
All right. But once Jacob overcame his fear of being caught, that's what his biggest fear was, that he was going to get caught doing this stuff. Once he overcame that fear, hey, he was all on board with it. He's ready to go with the plan. Now, in this, Rebekah manipulated both Isaac and Jacob. True? All right? But it was only Jacob that was willing to be manipulated.
Right, because Isaac would have still been checking to
Yeah.
see if that really was Esau.
At this point, each person in the drama, Rebekah, Esau, Jacob, Isaac, each one of them acted in this drama in a man-centered wisdom and energy. In other words, pleasing of the flesh. It was not according to divine or spiritual wisdom. Even Esau, in agreeing to Isaac's plan to give him the birthright, disregarded the previous promise to allow Jacob to have his birthright. So even in this, Esau's scheming to take his birthright back from Jacob. Hey? Why? Because none of them trusted each other. Wasn't a bit of trust in that family with one another. And worse yet, they didn't trust the Lord. They didn't trust God. Each one of them schemed. Each one of them plotted against the other. And in doing so, they also schemed and plotted against God. And the worst aspect of all of this was they seemed to regard this blessing as something magical. Eh? They seemed to look at it as, if Isaac gives this blessing, then there's going to be sunshine and unicorns and Skittles falling from heaven. Lollipops, yes. It's all going to be rainbows and lollipops. Everything's going to be great. It's something magical. Instead of looking at it as something that was God's will. They didn't see it as something that was attached to God's will. It was, to them, it was detached from God's will. But in giving the blessing, Isaac could only recognize God's call and blessing on Jacob. See, it wouldn't have made a bit of difference if Isaac would have given the blessing to Esau. Why? Because the promise wasn't to Esau. The promise was to Jacob. So it didn't matter. He could have given it to him 1,000 times and it wouldn't have made a bit of difference at all. It was only God who could bestow the blessing. Even if Isaac gave it to him, like I said, 1,000 times, it was only good if God honored it from heaven. And God would not have honored that blessing. If he'd have given that blessing to Esau, God would not have honored that blessing. Okay?
So what you're saying is Jacob didn't even have to scheme or anything because he would have got it right.
Exactly.
But because God had already done it.
Okay? He didn't have to. Remember a couple of weeks ago we were talking about Esau selling his birthright to Jacob for a bowl of stew. Well, if you remember, as we were talking about that, it wasn't Esau's to sell. And it wasn't Jacob's to buy. It was already his. Okay? That's like owning a vehicle and somebody comes up and says, I want to sell you this vehicle.
Already mine.
Yeah, that's kind of the way I felt with
Yeah. Yeah. We want to sell you something that you already own. Wait a minute. Why am I buying something that I already own?
That's what I could never understand.
Yeah. But and that's what it was with Jacob and Esau. Esau, because of tradition, he had birthright because he was firstborn. But God had already said before they were even born, the second will be greater than the first. The first is going to serve the second. Jacob already had the birthright. He didn't have to do anything. Rebekah and Jacob didn't have to scheme one bit. Isaac could have blessed Esau 10,000 times every day for the rest of his 47 years that he was on earth. He could have blessed Esau. But when it all came down to it, Jacob still would have got it. Why? Because God said that's the way he wanted it. Yeah. So they all did this scheming and skimming and non-trusting and everything else for absolutely nothing. Kind of makes me think of if it was modern days, they'd have a reality TV show going on.
Oh, God.
You know? Days of Our Lives or something like that. Now let's look at verses 18 to 27. And he came unto his father and said, My father. And he said, Here am I. Who art thou, my son? And Jacob said unto his father, I am Esau, thy firstborn. I have done according as thou badest me. Arise, I pray thee, sit and eat my venison, that thy soul may bless me. And Isaac said unto his son, How is it that thou hast found it so quickly, my son? And he said, Because the Lord thy God brought it to me. And Isaac said unto Jacob, Come near, I pray thee, that I may feel thee, my son, whether thou be my very son Esau or not. And Jacob went near unto Isaac his father, and he felt him. And he said, The voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau. And he discerned him not, because his hands were hairy, and his brother Esau's hands. So he blessed him. And he said, Art thou my very son Esau? And he said, I am. And he said, Bring it near me, that I may eat of my son's venison, that my soul may bless thee. And he brought it near to him, and he did eat. And he brought him wine, and he drank. And his father Isaac came unto him, or said unto him, Come near now, and kiss me, my son. And he came near and kissed him, and he smelled the smell of his raiment, and blessed him, and said, See, the smell of my son is as the smell of the field which the Lord hath blessed. Now, here's one of the bad parts. There are all a lot of bad parts. But here's a very bad part. Jacob didn't hesitate one bit to give God credit in part of his deception. He said, How did you find it? So, oh, the Lord your God has brought it to me. He gave God credit in his deception. How could he do this? How could he do this? Since he knew God wanted him to have the birthright, Jacob knew this already. But because he knew this, he justified any lie or any other sin that he committed in pursuit of the birthright as being okay. He likely did so telling himself it was all for a righteous cause. Jacob used the promise and calling of God as an excuse for sin, and justified it to himself by thinking his sinful conduct acted towards the fulfillment of God's promise.
But he shouldn't have done it in the first place. He knew God was going to fulfill it.
Yeah,
No matter what.
shouldn't have done it in the first place.
But like I said, they didn't trust each other. They didn't trust God either.
But there are a lot of preachers out there today that have sinful conduct, and they think they're doing it in fulfillment of God's promise or God's prophecy or whatever it is. Okay? Now, I'm sure I know that there are several of the prosperity preachers who know what they're doing, and they know exactly what they're doing. They know that they know that what they're doing is wrong. But unfortunately, there are some out there that truly believe in their hearts that they're doing the right thing.
My ex-husband. He was a preacher.
Some of them, there are a few of them out there that believe. Now, I'm not talking about the big name, high, those go. No, not those guys. But there are some of them that follow these people that now think that, oh, wow, that's what the gospel is all about. And because this guy gave me a prophecy about this a while back, I think this is all in fulfillment of that prophecy. And so their sinful conduct, and I think deep down they know that their conduct is sinful, but they're trying to justify it by saying, but it's in fulfillment of God's promise, so it must be okay. Yeah. Well, yeah. But here it is. Jacob and Rebekah are trying to deceive Isaac, their father. Isaac and Esau are trying to go around God's promise by giving the blessing to Esau instead of Jacob as it was supposed to. Okay? So they go in, and he's gone in and he's made this deception, and Isaac questions the lie. Hey, wait a minute. Are you really Esau? You sound like Jacob. And I'm sure that there was a difference in their voices as well. Yet, Jacob stayed confirmed in his lie. So partially, Jacob took advantage of his father's good nature. Isaac probably believed that Jacob would not lie to him over and over and over and over and over again. And there are people especially people who are wrapped up in or addicted to drugs and different things like that, are master manipulators. They know how to push the right buttons. They know how to say, "Oh, yeah, I really want to get out of this. I just really, if you'll just help me this time, I can get out of it." And then people will give into it, and not long afterwards, they're right back doing the same thing. And then a few months later, they come back and say, "But yeah, this time I mean it." Right? Yeah, like the last 50 times that you said you meant it. Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. And that and really get yourself together.
I'll help you out. If
Yeah.
you 30 days to sober up.
And that's what.
I mean, what else was I to do? He was going to jail.
Yeah.
He said, and I thanked him for honoring the Lord and everything.
Yeah, but
He said, but,
sorry, it's not gonna. You got.
God gave me a job to do.
There's a lot of people that, especially these drug dealers, they'll go to, "I'm going to rehab, boy, I'm going to rehab," and then they want to have that last big hoorah before they go to rehab, go out and get their last big high and everything like that, and then they get that last big high and they go, "You know what? I really don't want to go to rehab," and then they don't. And and this is just my opinion and me saying this. I may be wrong. There may be evidence that shows otherwise, but from what I've seen, it doesn't. Court-ordered rehab does not help. Doesn't work.
No, you have to want to go.
They go for the 30 days or however long the court says you have to go to rehab and do this. Okay. And they'll do it to long enough to get out of rehab, and when they get out, and the first time they see their parole officer, say, "Oh yeah, I'm turning my life around." And as soon as they walk out, they'll find their drug dealer and get another fix.
No matter how much somebody tells you or does those things, it's not going to happen until that person wants to do it on his own.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who says it.
And you just have to, with people like that, you've got to let them, you've got to let people like that, you've got to let them fail. And it's hard to do, yes, but you have to let them fail. Because if they don't fail, if they don't hit rock bottom, they're never going to come up from it. As long as somebody keeps throwing them a lifeline and bringing them up, they'll keep going right back to it.
That's all some of them know.
Yeah,
That's all they know.
that's all they know.
It's not just drug dealers though, because my first husband was a drug dealer, the one that lives with me now, which he's been off that stuff because he had heart problems.
Yeah.
Now my second husband was a preacher, and he was worse than my first.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, let's look at verses 27 to 29. And he came near and kissed him and smelled the smell of his raiment and blessed him and said, See, the smell of my son is as the smell of a field which the Lord hath blessed. Therefore God give thee the dew of heaven and the fatness of the earth and plenty of corn and wine. And let people serve thee and nations bow down to thee. Be Lord over thy brethren, and let thy mother's sons bow down to thee. Cursed be every one that curseth thee, and blessed be he that blesseth thee. Isaac blessed Jacob as the spiritual head of the family. Isaac, not Ishmael. Remember, Ishmael was the firstborn of Abraham, even though it was to a different wife. Okay? But it was Isaac, not Ishmael, had the right to pass on this blessing relating to the covenant of Abraham. The son who received this blessing, whether it was Esau or Jacob, was able to pass it on to his descendants. The words of the blessing, if you listen to them, they're beautiful words. Words are filled with pictures of the Lord's rich bounty that we have in the world. And they echoed some of the words of the covenant made with Abraham. Again, it's important to see. It wasn't the bestowal of the words upon Jacob that made him blessed. Okay? Remember that. It wasn't Isaac saying the words that made Jacob blessed. Jacob was blessed because God chose him to be blessed from the first place. What mattered is that God said the older shall serve the younger. Not that Isaac said to be master over your brother. See, what matters is what God says. Doesn't matter what we say or what somebody in our family says. What matters is what God says. All right? Verses 30 to 32. And it came to pass, as soon as Isaac had made an end of the blessing Jacob, and Jacob was yet scarce gone from out the presence of Isaac his father, that Esau his brother came in from his hunting. Ooh, the plot thickens. And he also had made savory meat and brought it unto his father. And he said unto his father, Let my father arise and eat of his son's venison, that thy soul may bless me. And Isaac his father said unto him, Who art thou? And he said, I am thy son, thy firstborn, Esau. Now the timing of each aspect of this story makes it even more dramatic. Hey, Hollywood couldn't write the script better than this. All right? As soon as Jacob receives the blessing and walks out the door, in walks Esau. Jacob walks out the back door. Esau walks in the front door. Okay? Here he comes in from his hunting. And we can picture Esau out there hunting and preparing all this food with pleasure. I mean, he's going, ha, 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 I'm going to get the blessing. I'm going to get the blessing. I'm going to get the blessing. Okay? But Esau wasn't worried about the blessing. Esau wasn't concerned about the spiritual aspect of the blessing. All he wanted was the material benefits of the blessing. Because the firstborn, the one who gets the blessing and the birthright, he gets the largest share of the inheritance. So that's what he's wanting. That's what Esau's wanting. You know, he's wanting more money. And Isaac asked him, who are you? Who are you? I mean, just think, if the person you think that it is just leaves and somebody else comes in and says, hey, Dad, I brought you some food. Wait a minute, who are you? Okay? Now, this question may have seemed kind of strange, but remember, Isaac's old. He can't see very well. And Esau probably thought, oh, this is just a simple mistake. No big deal. Yeah. Yeah, it's me, Dad. It's Esau. Now look at this. And Isaac trembled very exceedingly and said, who? Where is he that hath taken venison and brought it in me, and I have eaten of all before thou camest, and have blessed him? Yea, and he shall be blessed. Isaac begins to instantly shake convulsively. Now, this phrase is very strong. Very, very strong. The Hebrew word or phrase for trembled exceedingly is ka'ata. Ka'ada. Not ta, da. Ka'ada. Okay? And it means trembling with fear or anxiety. Have you ever been so afraid or so anxious about something that you literally tremble? That's what he was doing. He was so upset about this that he's literally trembling. And Isaac was overcome with a deep, deep, deep sense something had gone wrong in his plan to bless Esau instead of Jacob. It dawned on him, man, something went wrong. I messed up somewhere. Isaac was troubled because he knew that he had tried to work against God's plan. And guess what? God had beaten him. God outsmarted him.
They should know that they can't do that.
Yeah. You can't do it. And then at this moment, Isaac realized that he was always going to lose.
Even us peons down here know that.
You know, he wasn't gonna. He realizes no matter what, I'm going to lose. So when he tried to resist God's will, even when he didn't like God's will, and he came to learn, despite his arrogance against God's will was glorious. But Isaac's faith was demonstrated in one way. How was Isaac's faith demonstrated?
I knew he messed up when he realized.
After his attempt to redirect the will of God was destroyed, he still demonstrated his faith. Because he said of Jacob, yea, he shall be blessed. I blessed him, and he will be blessed. That showed the faith that he had in God. Okay?
So he knew that, that I would be.
Yeah, he knew that Jacob was going to be blessed. All right, we're getting almost done here. And when Esau heard the words of his father, he cried with a great and exceeding bitter cry, And he said unto his father, Bless me, even me also, my father. And he said, Thy brother came with us suddenly and hath taken away thy blessing. And he said, is not he rightly named Jacob? For he hath supplanted me these 2 times. He took away my birthright, and behold, now he hath taken away my blessing. And he said, Hath thou not reserved a blessing for me? And Isaac answered and said unto Esau, Behold, I have made him thy lord, and all his brethren have I given to him for servants, and with corn and wine have I sustained him. And what shall I do now unto thee, my son? And Esau said unto his father, Hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted his voice and wept. Now this was a deep and bitter cry that he had. This was the strongest possible description to describe the depths of Esau's horror. Man, I just lost everything. Everything. And upon learning that Jacob had taken his birthright, Esau cries out, Bless me, even me also. Yet we understand Esau valued his father's blessing mainly in material terms. He was only worried about the money. He did not value the blessing's spiritual value. Both Isaac and Esau were grieved when they understood what Jacob had done. And now Esau was concerned about his birthright. Now he's concerned about it. Now he's worried about his birthright. Before, he was willing to sell his birthright for a bowl of stew. Before, he despised his birthright. But now he wanted it. But not for its spiritual value, but for its material and social advantages. Esau failed to take responsibility for the fact that in the first of the 2 times that he referred to as Esau had taken his birthright, Esau actually despised his birthright. So Esau could not really and truly, honestly say that Jacob took his birthright from him. What happened? Esau gave him the birthright, even though it wasn't his to give in the first place. And God was the Lord over the birthright anyway. So when Esau shed those tears, they were tears of selfishness. Not because he had lost some great spiritual thing. It was selfishness. And his tears, and nowhere in them was there regret for his sin that he had committed. Okay? We're going to end it right there for tonight. And we're going to pick it up from that point later on. Where Esau does wind up getting a limited blessing, but it is a limited blessing. All right? So we're going to talk about then. Any questions, comments, concerns, amens, omes? All right. If there's nothing else, Pastor dismisses.
Thank you for joining us today. We pray you were blessed by the broadcast. If you have a prayer request or questions about Solid Rock Tabernacle, please visit our website at www.solidrocktabernacle.org. That's www.solidrocktabernacle.org. On behalf of the pastors and congregation here at Solid Rock Tabernacle, We pray you have a blessed week, and we invite you to join us in person or on one of our future broadcasts.